Assalamu alaikum and welcome to An Nur the Light. To those who don't know the greeting of Islam, it's quite simple. I greet you in the name of peace. That's it. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month in South Africa, and with the number ever increasing of women being diagnosed with this, we thought it appropriate to make this a feature. Kulsum Jetam is a small town girl who's doing big things for women, especially with breast cancer. Let's find out more.
Most people move from the small town they grew up in to the big city, but for Dr. Kulsum Jetam, it was the opposite. After getting married, her new home became Mokopane, where she became a wife.
I'm originally from Johannesburg, and I studied at Wits, and I did my training at Barra and Charlotte Matrike, and we had a screening program at these universities where people actually knew that if you're over 40, you need to have a mammogram to detect breast cancer earlier than, so before you actually feel a lump. In this province, there is no breast education. There is no screening program. So in fact, when I started out at the university hospital and I first moved here, soon after I got married, I tried to start a screening program at Petersburg Provincial Hospital. So that program fell away. And there's always been questions in the community. People come to me and ask me, and I usually have to refer them somewhere else. And I realize that there's a burning need in this community for women of all races, from all walks of life, to have an imaging center that is run by women.
Dr. Kulsum worked as a radiologist at the local hospital, and it was here that she realized there is a need for women's own clinic where they can have their breast examined in a safe environment.
I, as a female, I have 2 children, and I never wanted to go to a male gynecologist. Women find it much easier to relate to a woman, and possibly a woman who shares their cultural background. It does make it easier because topics like speaking about breast cancer or anything to do with the breast or anything to do with female health issues have traditionally been taboo, and women shy away from asking questions simply because they're actually taught to be ashamed about these things. And I'm hoping that what I'm doing makes women realize that all these things are natural and most of these things are not serious issues, that there is an outlet, that there is someone you can go to deal with women's issues.
A big part of Dr. Jetam's philosophy is education. She often visits schools where she speaks to young girls about the signs as well as dangers of breast cancer.
Well, what we've started recently, we have a breast cancer tea. I've actually spoken to church groups and high schools and to the grade 6s and 7s of primary schools to talk to young girls about how their bodies are changing, what the implications are of these changes, and how to look for signs of breast cancer or any other breast disease for that matter. The focus is not only on breast cancer, it's on general breast health.
While business was slow at first, she never gave up hope. Patients that came in to see her felt comfortable around another female as their procedures were fairly intimate and personal.
Dr. Jetam is 'n wonderlike mens. Vir eerste keer wat ek by haar gekom het, nadat my dokter my verwys het na haar toe, het ek net wonderlike behandeling van haar ontvang. Jy weet, as jy met so iets gediagnoseer word, is dit verskriklik sleg vir 'n mens. En sy het my elke oomblik, het sy en haar personeel my baie, baie gemaklik laat voel. En dit was regtig baie goed gewees.
Usually, it's not just you've got cancer. When a patient comes in with a lump, they're already apprehensive. Patient's reaction can be very variable, but the ones that are strong obviously are emotionally distraught, and we still comfort them.
Breast cancer is on the increase in South Africa, but if caught in time, almost 90% of it can be cured. Dr. Jetam shares the importance of self-examination and living a healthy lifestyle with women in and around Mokopane. As a radiologist, she was always asked to provide information sessions on breast health and breast maintenance post-mastectomy to women's groups. Her clinic has thus become a safe place for women where they can be given breast examinations and information around breast cancer.
Dr. Jutam het vir my net gesê, gaan asseblief 'n behandeling. Ek is toe verwys na 'n onkoloog in Pretoria. Hy het my verwys na 'n chirurg toe. Heeltyd het sy oor my bekommerd gewees. Het Dr. Jutam gebel, gaan dit goed met jou? Is jy sterk genoeg om hierdie ding deur te gaan? Baie gebede het vir my gedra, baie bystand van familie, onderskraging van vriende, regtig. Sonder hulle kon ek niks gedoen het nie.
In my husband's family, there's a strong history of breast cancer. I think that's intensified what I do, but I started doing this long before I discovered this history. His sister passed on in her mid-40s, breast cancer. His paternal grandmother passed on from breast cancer. So there's a bit of a personal element here.
The disease may signal alarm bells in the community, but Dr. Chetam's practice has become a safe haven for those seeking help. October is designated as Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and there is much more to be done to make women aware of the dangers of not being tested annually. As a Muslim, she feels she is answering Allah's call by serving her Creator and helping those less fortunate.
90% of women diagnosed with breast cancer early on survive and live healthy lives. Get yourself checked at least twice a year and be sure to remain health conscious. Next up is our popular street style.
My style is very chic, so I like what's trending at the moment, but I always keep in mind a critical eye because not everything suits another person. So depending on your physique, it's all about what appeals to you.
When it comes to my style, well, as you can see, I dress Islamic, but then I always have a balance between not going completely fashionistic and not completely Islamic also. To style off, I might put on a scarf now and then, or my hair, do it up now and then.
Okay, my outfit today is a plain black court shoe with a high-waisted pant which is customized by me, and just a plain top with patches on the side and a plain scarf. So I'm keeping it simple and chic.
When it comes to accessories, I don't myself go anything extravagant. It's more as if a normal kurta that I'd be wearing, or a different color scarf depending on my mood on that day. And then my topi, it's normal Islamic headgear.
Being a Muslim woman, there's a lot of rules and regulations regarding the dress code for women, and yes, it can be restricting, but it's what you make of it and what you can always put together a piece that is within the Islamic dress code. You don't necessarily have to be not unfashionable. You can still wear hijab, be fashionable, and look good at the same time.
My Islamic style does not restrict me in any way. It's more sort of a reminder for myself, so I know as to what my boundaries are, because in Islam there are certain boundaries and restrictions which you cannot go over. So in a way, dressing like this helps me be a Muslim and also be who I want to be.
I plan my style every morning when I wake up. Luckily for me, I have a variety that I can choose from. It does get tricky sometimes. I have to collaborate fashion with hijab. Bringing the two together makes a woman more confident.
A friend of mine used to always tell me, no matter what you do in life, make sure you do it looking good.
More and more Muslim men and women are making fashion statements by choosing to dress modestly. Look at Instagram for the explosion of hijabi bloggers and you'll be inspired. Or just tune into our show weekly and we'll bring them to you. The South African Muslim Women's Forum recently had a Sisters Empowerment Conference in Johannesburg, and we took our cameras there to capture the event.
The South African National Muslim Women's Forum has recognized the challenges facing the country and are intent on making a difference. Far too often, Muslim women are portrayed as docile and obedient beings whose only role is to serve their husbands. This organization turns that notion on its head as they seek to make a meaningful contribution to the country.
The South African National Muslim Forum is actually an association of different forums from different towns, provinces, little villages, etc., doing social upliftment. We try to follow in the legacy of the wives of the Prophet, peace be upon him, because when they wanted more money, a verse came down to say, if you as the wives of the Prophet want more money, you can be divorced, you need to do social upliftment. In addition to what we are doing, we also do social upliftment for those around us. And our motto is 40 houses in any direction is our responsibility. So on a daily basis, we find forums that are doing feeding programs, orphanages, seeing to the aged, caring for the frail, visiting hospitals, twinning schools with the township schools. It's really a phenomenal growth of women doing social upliftment at every level of their society.
A one-day power-packed conference was held by the SANMWF in aid of the Muslim AIDS program. Guest speakers held panel discussions and women from all walks of life discovered ways to empower themselves. Entrepreneur, design thinker, motivational speaker and owner of multiple businesses, Amal Dokan from Saudi Arabia, set the bar with her charisma and positive outlook on what women can achieve.
Someone I work with invited me to come over here and they said there's this gathering over there and I would like you to be part of it. And I kind of loved it, but I didn't know much about what's going to happen, basically. So I started talking to Shamshad, which is the organizer of the whole event, and I was so inspired by the energy and the inspiration that she was actually, giving me through that phone call. And I was like, this must be a wonderful thing, and I would love to take part of it. And I'm involved a lot in even empowering youth in general, and anyone who's interested, in entrepreneurship. And today, I think one of the main points, and I thought if I come out of this event today feeling that these women will only have the belief of the ability of being able to do something for themselves and to have an impact around them, or to start a business, or whether to do a difference in their house, then I have fulfilled my mission, and I've done something useful. So I look at empowerment, as part of your life, or as part of your work, as part of who you are as a person. And I hope that today, people would leave this place feeling that they have been empowered or touched by some sort of an inspiration.
Muslim women in South Africa clearly are a force to be reckoned with. Their passion for people has seen women single-handedly support entire communities, run madrasas, develop welfare organizations, and use their experience to motivate others.
One of the things that I said on stage, I was impressed with the level of the educators in the room, with the inspirational women that are in the room, with the things and initiatives that I heard about today. And I came here to inspire, but I will leave inspired, by the role of women in South Africa. I think women in nature do more what they should be doing because they want to reach up to the level and impress and make sure that the message is out there. Have I done it? Have I covered it? Is it effective enough? And it is working. And women probably in South Africa, especially Muslim ones, are doing much more than anyone else to prove that they are just like everyone and probably better in their beliefs, So I'm completely, impressed with all what I saw today.
Suraya Nawab attended the event to discuss her work with the Muslim AIDS program. Orphanages and child-headed households were at the top of the list as the funds who'd be contributing to these initiatives.
Muslim AIDS program is an HIV/AIDS program which started in 1996 with the invitation from the National Department of Health for faith-based organizations to get involved with the HIV/AIDS pandemic in the country. And so we as an NGO dealing with HIV/AIDS and TB at present are also spreading our wings a little bit and trying to incorporate all those lifestyle diseases so that we can make HIV/AIDS a disease that people can notify themselves about and others about, and also to avoid the stigma and discrimination that goes with being diagnosed HIV positive. And hopefully with the support of even media showing what challenges there are in different communities and what a difference NGOs and together with corporates we can make. I think it's evolving, as I say, and I just hope and pray that we can make a difference in the lives of the people that we try and serve.
I think the women are very appreciative of the fact that they can get it from the horse's mouth and then perhaps continue the communication after the conference on an individual basis or a forum basis. So it doesn't just stop here, the conference ends in the four walls, it gets continued, and they will possibly replicate smaller ones in their forums and in their towns. So we believe that forums like this and functions like this and conferences like this unite women, and we have the power.
The voice of Muslim women in South Africa grows ever louder as they battle community struggles and overcome challenges. As Muslims and as South Africans, these women truly are examples of an Ubuntu that can bring our world together.
My sisters are out there and doing it for themselves. I salute you and all who push the boundaries of empowerment in a positive way. Summer's on its way, and our monthly events calendar will give you the lowdown of where and when some of the hippest events are taking place.
Come out and cast your lines in aid of the Grassy Park Islamic Education Society Fishing Derby. This takes place at the open beach in Cape Town on the 31st of October until the 1st of November. If you want to get your fish on, join in the fun, call the contact details on the screen for more information. The Road to Nikah course is outstanding and very informative, a must for soon-to-be-married couples as well as newlyweds. Prepare yourself for topics like the flavor of love and marital rights. If you are in the Cape Town area, make sure you do not miss this. Acclaimed and controversial journalist Imra Hass will be giving an insightful talk about her journey as an international journalist. If you are into current affairs or news is your thing, this talk will be held at Al Ansar Hall, Overport in Durban. Muslim organisation First Glimpse is doing it for charity. They will be hosting a pop-up art exhibition featuring world-renowned artists. If you have a keen eye for art and want to support a good cause, Breathing Space in Glenwood is a great place to spend your weekend. If you have a keen eye for fashion or style is your thing, visit the Global Sources Fashion Apparel and Fabric Show. From clothing to gifts and fabrics to fashion, Johannesburg is a place to be. Are you a big bargain hunter? With over 400 stalls, this treasured trove, called the Panorama Flea Market, is the busiest market of its kind south of Johannesburg. There's something for everyone, making this a great activity for the whole family.
Follow us on social media. Send us an email, not only of your events, but also what more you'd like to see. Lemise is standing by with this week's meal.
We're always talking about passing down family recipes from generation to generation. And to share her legacy with us today is Zakira Sayed. Thank you so much for having me in your kitchen today.
It's only a pleasure. I'm happy to have you here.
Thank you so much. What is so special about the recipe that you're going to be sharing with us today?
So this recipe is a garlic chicken recipe, which is actually a recipe of my granny's. The recipe was initially written in Urdu, but unfortunately I cannot read the language. So what we decided to do was to translate my granny's recipes into English.
You're making sure that your heritage is maintained.
Exactly.
And that in itself is a wonderful story. So in honor of your grandmother, what are the ingredients that we need for this garlic chicken?
Okay, so we have 2 tablespoons of butter. We have 2 teaspoons of salt, 2 tablespoons of mayonnaise, a little bit of turmeric, 1 teaspoon of rough jeera, 1 teaspoon of whole jeera, 1 teaspoon of rough red chilies, 5 cloves of crushed garlic. We have dhania and about 5 green chilies that are crushed and 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. We then have 1 whole chicken, which is cut up, washed and cleaned.
And skinless?
Yes.
Okay, so what's the first thing we're going to do?
Well, you can pass me any one of them.
Will do.
And we have the salt, the mayo, the turmeric, the fine jeera, the rough jeera.
And you don't need to roast any of your spices before you add them?
No, I don't.
Okay.
No. It's the rough red chilies and lastly the lemon juice.
Okay. And how long does this need to marinate for?
Well, if you can, leave it for at least 2 hours, but if you're in a rush, there's no need to marinate.
And is this something that you were lucky enough to have tasted, made by your granny's hand when she was still alive?
Yes, I was fortunate enough to enjoy it made by her.
So there's a lot of sentimentality going with you making it for us today.
Indeed.
So what do we need to do now? It's literally just fry it off.
Well, first the butter and the garlic, and then we pop the chicken into the pot. So we'll start off with the butter. Thank you. And the garlic, please. And the chicken, lastly.
Zakira, what temperature would you cook this at?
So for the first 5 minutes, I leave it on a high heat.
Okay.
And thereafter, I just put it on to low to medium heat for the last 10 minutes.
Okay, so 15 minutes cooking time in total.
Yes.
And what would you serve this with?
I personally enjoy it with a roti and the butternut.
So this has been cooking and smelling absolutely delicious for at least 5 minutes now. What do we need to do?
Yes. So now that it's been on for 5 minutes, we're just going to add about 1/4 to 1/2 cup of water. You can judge, but it shouldn't be too wet. So what I'm going to do is add the water.
So this garlic chicken is going to have like a nice thick gravy to it.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
And it just needs to cook for a further 10 minutes.
Okay, so 15 to 20 minutes?
15 to 20 minutes and it should be ready.
So 15 to 20 minutes, and as you know, that's my favorite part, time to eat. So this is the part that I've been waiting an entire 20 minutes for. It's the tasting. So here we go with Granny's garlic chili recipe, because it's been smelling absolutely divine for so long. Definitely get the heat of the chili. Loving that garlic. So delicious. And this is exactly why it's so important that we learn from our elders and preserve our heritage and our legacy for our future generations. So until next time, save your granny's recipes. Assalamu alaikum.
Simple, no fuss, and yummy is what that meal was. The recipe for this week's meal can be found on our Facebook page, along with many other scrumptious dishes. That's all that we have time for this week, but do join us again next week, same time, same place. From me, Mara Mokwanda, Salang Hantle, Assalamu alaikum.